Yes, and we are here again with another episode of Dance Gems, and we're going to talk about does form follow function or does function follow form? But as you know, I would never do this without my good friend Ton, and let me see if he's there. Hey, Ton, are you there?
Hey, Sean, I'm there, and let's go, I would say.
Yeah, did you
Form?
see? Did you see my suggestion to talk about? It's one of those things that people talk about a lot in dancing. Does form follow function, or does function follow form? So I thought it was an interesting thing to talk about. Don't know.
Absolutely interesting.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh, accidentally I put on the music. Yes. Hey, good to see you.
Good to see you. And yesterday, your birthday was there.
It was my depends on when you're listening to this podcast, but yeah,
Yes,
yep, yeah.
absolutely.
My
Yes,
when we record this, it was my birthday yesterday. Yeah.
yes, yes.
That is correct, Tom. Yeah.
Yeah.
Today we are going to talk about function and form. Of course, we do it mostly in dancing, but maybe you can give me a little bit. I know we both looked a little bit deeper into the where is that coming from? Where is form and function? What does that mean?
Um, it comes from the industry, Sean,
Mm-hmm.
from the architect world.
Mm-hmm.
That's the first time when I came in contact with it, and I had did a research, a little one, and I came out by Bauhaus from
Yeah.
Germany, and they worked very much from form uh, before function, function before form.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
and this is the first one where I find it. So 1919, 1922.
Yeah. Yeah. Bauhaus was a movement. It's not a person. Eh? Bauhaus was a movement.
Yes.
In the early 20th century, we can say that now. That's weird because were both born there and talk about our birthday. Just for us, that doesn't feel so long ago, but it is actually over 100 years ago when the Bauhaus movement talked about functionalities and form in relationship to each other. And it was not only effect on architecture, right, Tom? It had an effect on way more things than that.
Yes, may painters, um, architects, designers, dancers. So many people came at that time. I think it was 1919, around that time,
Mm-hmm.
and they wanted to bring all artists or all kind of art together. And all this art, they want to find the cohesive. What's the word for that one? For the people, the how it works together. So, and they had more an exchange about it, and the result was function before form, and they used the basic colors like red, blue, and yellow, and that vision is still intact. And they worked also very geometric in a geometric way, very straight, less organic, not like in the Baroque. And I think it's a question of time, how they go through time. So it change every 10 years, 100 years, you get a new influence. And that's then the style.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. There was, I mean, it's interesting because I started to read more about it, and Bauhaus was very much looking at the quality of the material that was used, and then put it then in a functional place. Um, we had another movement after that, which was more Bauhaus was German driven, and then after that came a movement that was a little bit more Dutch driven. Now it's not so strange because Dutch always have a lot of influence in art, anyhow, and also in design. And it was called the style. And Mondrian, most people that listen to us know Mondrian, with the red squares and the blue squares and stuff like that. But the interesting thing, what I discovered after our last discussion on this, Tom, that Bauhaus was more functional driven and the intrinsic quality of the material, but the style people were also a little bit more spiritual driven in their design. So they were looking more at what they called the purity of form. It's interesting that there was it one follows the other, but the other had a little bit more spiritual influence. And I didn't know that, to be honest. I thought Mondrian was a straight line from Bauhaus, but the style actually had slightly different thoughts on that. So things evolve in follow each other up. I thought that was interesting. But both were talking about functions and styles and stuff like that. So if something is pure functional, Ton, what does that mean? Let's put these
Um,
two.
y- yeah, when you have a chair
Mm-hmm.
and there is just straight legs under it,
Yeah.
uh, the leaning, it's very straight if there is one. So the function is then to sit, and the cup you drink just adds a function. The cup, you can put liquid in it and drink it,
Yeah.
and it could be water or tea or coffee, and it's its function. And when you look to the people, how you call them, um, the prehistoric people, the clothing what they wear at that time from the animals, that was functional for the cold. And uh, and when they make a hat for in the summer for the sun, from leaves, that was very interesting. If you look now to the clothing, it's more design driven, form driven, because the colors, there are more colors there, more um, different text on it, words on your shirt, or brand, like a brand, you have a brand on it. Like what I see with you, you have white stripes there on your black one. So you want to make a difference through your clothing, through
Yeah.
the design, what you have, but still it has a function. So is now the form higher than the function or otherwise around? So I would say it's form, but not always form before function. And in
Yeah.
dance, if we look to dance,
Uh-huh.
um, because it's a form of art, and if you would have rules in it there, then you would um, limit yourself to the art, to the form. So if you not have rules, then it's more design driven, form driven, I
It
would
can
say.
it can be. It doesn't have to be.
Yeah, can be,
It
yes.
can be.
That's it's
Yes.
the right
Yeah.
wording, yes.
Yeah.
Mm?
No, I think that's a great explanation, Ton, because you look at my jacket that I'm wearing, right? The zipper, whether it's actually blue but not black, but you can see that. But if it doesn't matter what color it was, the function is to open and close it. And that same thing is for the stripes on my arm. But it's often also depending on the context because I choose a background here and I wanted to see a little bit when I demonstrate things. I wanted to see that you can see my arms, so suddenly the stripes they do have a function in this case. Or if it would be reflective, and I say, well, I wear this jacket outside, and when lights shine on me when I'm running, they can see me. Then, I thought it was form, but it actually has a function. Same thing
Yes.
with the cup, right? The cup is very functional. It's you put something in it and then you can drink it and you can hold it and then like this. So on the other side there's a logo. Excuse me for the commercial. This is Starbucks, right? But it has no function for the drinking in itself. It has a function to distinguish myself, saying, hey, I like Starbucks, but it also has a function, of course, for the makers of the mug, saying, hey, we make commercial for it. But for the drinking, which is the context, it has no function at all, this thing. Huh? So I think that points out a little bit, and in dance, what you said, hey, if we just could free dance, then it's okay. But if you put it in the setting of, for instance, a competition, or if you want to see a certain style, then you limit yourself, and that could be for good reason. And then we talk a little bit more about function, but still, a lot of people just say it like that. So I mean, you probably heard it in a slightly different context when my teacher said, "No, Jean, it is always function before form." And I always thought, do you actually know what you're saying? Because I don't know what you're saying, but I don't think I agree with what you said. No,
If
it's
you would reflect that to dancing, then
uh
everybody would look the same.
yeah,
Is that
exactly.
what we
That's what
want?
that's what I thought. I said then we would not go like this over the floor. We would all go just in exactly the same circle, because then we would look for the most efficient path around the floor. I thought that cannot even be true. Right? So where do you think that comes from, Tom, when people say that? And they
I
say it so
think
definitive that there is no discussion possible. It is function before
I,
form, Sean.
actually I don't know, but maybe they think it's fancy to say it because it's interesting. Function before form. And when I then say, or you both together, we are not agree, they are really surprised. And that's the fun of it. So sometimes we make fun of it.
Yeah,
And yeah, that's,
yeah.
I don't know
I
where
al-
it comes from, Sean.
yeah,
You
I
know it?
no, no, no. I mean, I tried to find it. I do know that that some people say it, and but actually, if you ask them more explanation, they can't. A lot of ballroom teachers actually they try to give at least their interpretation of it, right? So if your women is a little bit more to your right side, then they come with something else more subjective in my mind, but that
Mhm,
becomes always
mhm,
a complicated discussion and say, oh, then she can move better. Okay, so if I would do it exactly
ok-
on the left side, then
mhm.
she doesn't move better. No, because we don't do that. We don't have, if you do ballroom dancing, your lady should be on your right side. Okay,
Okay.
I've never
Yeah.
seen it where that is written that it should be. I know
Yes.
everyone does it, but I know that, but there's no rule.
No, it's like the chicken and the egg. I'm thinking about that one.
Hmm.
Um, both you need, because you need the function, not always,
Yeah,
and you need the form,
yeah,
like the brand what you have on your cup. So it's not necessary to have it on,
no,
but if the brand has a
yeah.
higher priority, you cannot drink from the brand.
You cannot drink. Functional for the drinking, the brand has no function. For other things, the brand has function. So then I come back to that. Your lady needs to be a little bit more on your right. So then you're also on the right side of and then I say to some of those teachers, but I don't want to insult them. I'm just laughing. I said, did you know that the original function, why someone is on the right side, actually does not exist anymore? And no, 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 it still exists. And no, the original function why a lady is on my right side is because I used to have my sword on my left. That's
In
the
the ballroom
original
dancing,
in the
Sean.
ballroom
In the
dancing.
ball,
That's
yes,
what I
yes,
said.
yeah.
That is the original function why it's
Hmm.
on the right, not left. So things sometimes stay, which is perfectly fine.
Yes,
I mean,
and yes, yeah, and if you look to the ballroom dancing, they changed the form, and they don't know they changed the form because
mm,
they say, because we change the form, then it gets a more better function. I was looking for a different word because I never use, or
yeah.
never, I try not to use better. Um, there
Hmm.
is not existing better.
Yeah.
And
Well, yeah, I must say, definitely under influence of people that I work with, and you were one of them that I started to use. I can see sometimes the function the way it was intended, but we are way more open to it. So let me give you an example, right? So, and this is a ballroom technical thing, so forgive me if I do that a little bit. But there's a moment in dancing where we ask the lady to go to my left side, and she gets into a fan position, right? And then the technic book wrote, it is, and the man should be lined up to the side and slightly forward. Now it's very technical, and in the beginning when I was teaching dance, and I said that's how it must be because it's function before form. I didn't use that, but that's how it must be. But then I saw, okay, if I want to have a certain lead, this indeed works better. But I came a little bit further, but it's only if I want to make that choice, if I care about that. If I don't care about that, you know, then it's okay. So I don't want to be saying someone you should care about a better, or I mean, I care a lot about lead and follow. That's okay. But if someone else cares a little bit less about it, then that should be okay too. See,
Yes.
that's where I started to struggle. Like, hey,
No. What? Yes.
yeah, does that make sense? So I am caring
Yes.
about this thing, but that's
Absolutely.
my personal choice. And I can, of course, not push my personal choices per se on the other person.
No. What I realized in this ballroom dancing, standard
Mm-hmm.
dancing, when the
Mm-hmm.
girls before they were like they had the head like this.
Mm-hmm.
Now the women's head goes more backwards
Yeah. Go more like this.
and
Yep.
then more sidewards,
Yep.
and then even the back
Back
is changing
start
also.
starts to
So,
bend.
yes, starts more to bend. So they don't see 100 years ago because dancing is an evolution, a change always, every day,
Yeah.
every month, every year. But it goes so slow that we not mention it or are conscious about it that it change. A change. And then when you look from now 20 years further, it will change.
Yeah.
It will not, so the form will change.
Yeah.
If the function will probably change too, but I don't know. Maybe it's just cosmetically or not. You never know if would be change a function. The same with the handhold in the ballroom dancing. They have it like this
Mm-hmm.
together,
Oh
and they
yeah.
say I can better lead because I said it's just a form. When you do it like that, you still have the same, not the same connection, uh, but it has no influence on the function. And still, they say yes, it had absolutely
Mm-hmm.
influence on the function.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I let them how they are. They can
Same.
think what they want. I
Same.
think differently about it. So if fingers are like that or this, maybe there could be a slight different of a function, but it's not so big. So what the most of them do, they imitate each other and take exactly the same position because they believe that this one is the correct one, and other other holds would say all other holds would be wrong.
Yeah.
And that is a strange thought for a designer or for a choreographer to think like that, because then is the function probably they think the function would be higher than the form. And that's yeah, sometimes in a technique maybe you need it, but and still they are also busy with form, how to
Yeah.
put a small ship in it, a very very small chip in the telephone, how you design it. So
Yeah.
they are busy with space and with form
They are.
because they are looking how
Yeah.
efficient they can make the form. And this
Yeah.
is why the phone is like that, because it's still Bauhaus,
Mm,
because Steve Jobs was inspired, the iPhone actually, it's a brand, but still he was inspired for to make it like that. And the brown calculator on it. It's still from Bauhaus. I will take it here and show it. This is Bauhaus, actually Brown. That's the brand, and it's very geometric and very minimalistic. And
Yeah. And
yeah,
some people like it or not. But yeah, the interesting thing is, of course, with artists and not only in dancing, but dance as an art form, and people who are with that, they on purposely try to, mix functionality and form up. And I think one of the most easiest to understand example is always the moonwalk, right? Because in principle, if you do normal walking, functional walking, you would not have your flat foot would not move over the floor. That would be weird in normal walking. But Michael Jackson and the people who started to work on the moonwalk, they do the opposite. The foot that is flat on the floor moves, and the foot that goes on toe ball, right, is the one that is steady. Which is, if you think about normal walking, it's the other way around, right? And so that gives that amazing effect that he slides over the floor, and then of course people took that nowadays to a whole different level of moonwalking. It's just incredible, and it feels that, and that's what dancers typically try to do, to make a movement that seems to be impossible from a normal functionality point of view, and that makes it interesting. So um, so if you would do pure function before form, the moonwalk would never exist. Does that make sense, though? Yeah,
yes,
yeah. So whether there is, of course, some controversy whether Michael Jackson was the first real person who did the moonwalk, but that's not important. What's important is they wanted to reverse that because that's interesting to look at. But if he would have been only thinking about, no, it needs to be function before form, things like the moonwalk, trust me, they would not exist.
no, he was how we say, inspired from other people
Yeah,
to do the moonwalk.
yes,
Yes, you
yes,
know
yeah.
that,
You
eh?
and I know that,
That
but
story. Yes.
it is for the history that's important. But it is just to show, and there are many more movements than that. That if we as choreographers would only develop it from a functionality point of view, a lot of movements would not exist in dancing.
No, no, absolutely not. And the tools what I have in
Hmm.
for my to create a form.
Hmm.
First of all, why I call it a form,
Yeah, and I like that. That's a good angle.
because you in English it would be, in pure English it would be shape.
Hmm.
But maybe the listeners don't know that in the design world or architect world, shape is a pure two-dimensional form shape. And three-dimensional, you get a form, depth, length, and height. And the word form comes from the word forma, figura, from the Latin. And shape is a pure English word, what only English speaking people use. And this is why we speak about form before function or function before form, and not function before shape and and shape before function.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. So, yeah, do we need function? No, absolutely no doubt about it. It is for us. It's more for you and me. It's a little bit more, bringing that discussion up, and if we use dance and movement in, let's say, in a therapy setting, then of course the function of the therapy is more important than the form. Obviously, if you look at it in a strictly artistic way, there is, who cares about the function, right? Then that's when you put it in a competitive setting, you get some sort of a little bit of a clash between the two,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because if it's pure form before function, then a lot of people
Yes.
say, no, I can't judge it because I don't know if this is cha-cha or what, where you and I sometimes think, who cares?
Yeah.
But
Yes.
if you want to do it
Action.
yeah,
Yeah.
if you want to measure it, like in a competition, it's not only in ballroom dancing, as you said last time. There's also now you see contemporary um, uh, competitions, and you see people gravitating a little bit more to function than form because of the
Absolutely.
competition. Hmm.
And I think, not I'm think, I'm sure,
Yeah.
dancing is an art form.
Oh yeah.
And you
Sure.
try to be creative in that form.
Yeah.
And my tools for to create a form is geometric, straight lines. It could
Mm-hmm.
be like a circle or a straight line or a triangle. And or the opposite of it is organic.
Mm-hmm.
So curved lines, broken lines. And then you come also immediately to the two elements what form needs. It's a straight and a curved line. All what we have around us has only these two elements or the combination of it. And it's always a combination of curved and straight lines. And this makes the form. Look around your pen. I have a pen here. Yes. And look to the paper here. That's and the words on it. But come I will come back to actually to the dancing. So I have geometric, organic, symmetric, asymmetric, and singular and composed. In the world of architect world, it would be you work with stone, metal, glass, wood. That would be the elements. If you make a combination of it, then you have a composed material used. If you use a single material, only wood, then it would be from wood. But the elements from it could be also again singular or composed from wood. And if you would compare that to dancing, when I turn only my body is my instrument. That it's the whole wooden thing what could move. Actually, wood cannot move, but when it could move, then my head is singular, my shoulder is singular, my hands are singular because it's a human being is built up bilateral and unilateral would say one side of the body. And then when you have one side of the body, then it would be asymmetric. So that was a short explanation. These are my elements to to make a form and how I can create a form. And I try to mix them and compose them together. And then something unique will come out, and that will be a unique form. And we, Sean and I, we let the artist, the dancer, choose from these elements. And then it gets a unique,
Unique
how would you
stamp.
say, a unique stamp actually from that person. And this is the beauty of it. And then it's more form before function because you are busy with the elements of form. And then it creates some function when you dance on that floor for yourself. And this could be different from other people.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. No, I totally agree. Yeah. So yeah, it is, and I think just with these, I know it's a lot already, a lot what Tom mentioned, and specifically if you can't see it and only listen to us. But if you think about the elements that Tom, and even if you take only if even if you take only four, it becomes already so much what you can do. But if you just think about straight lines and organic lines, then then already you can see that you can make a lot of combinations in it. So the ballroom world, and in typically in our world, we think very quickly symmetric, right? Look at the design of my clothes. It's a very symmetric design. Why not three stripes on one side and only one stripe on the other side? That's okay. That is asymmetric, but still, for my feeling, would still be quite symmetrical, to be honest. But
Yeah, still,
but it's
yes.
already that's already asymmetric in our. So we like that people because people come from a point on where they like to understand things. But art
Yes.
is always trying to challenge a little bit that part. So
Yes, the
um,
asymmetry makes it
yeah,
more exciting. This is
yeah, it's
why
exciting.
when I,
Yeah,
when I was started with dancing, I
yeah,
thought all the clothes must look symmetric. All the steps must look symmetric.
yeah.
This is how they teach me. And
Mm-mm.
I couldn't see the other side because the other side makes it more interesting. And
Yeah,
the combination of it and the choice how you can combine these two elements, symmetric and asymmetric, in the 10 body parts. This is what I have in my method, in the gem method. I work from the body awareness of 10 points. And say the hands, if I would put my hands like this, then the form is asymmetric, but the space where I have it is symmetric. And now I get an asymmetric space and an asymmetric form.
yeah. While Ton is moving his hand, because
And yes,
a lot of people cannot see this.
no, no, I cannot see
Nonetheless,
that.
so yeah, so
Correct.
no, that is absolutely right, Ton, and only just using your hands and trying to experiment what symmetric and asymmetric is already, quite interesting. I keep the form. I have a flat hand up, and I keep them exactly the same. I think they look parallel now, so this is still symmetric, right? But what happens, Ton, when I turn it like this? How would you call this?
Yes, it's still symmetric in form, but
Yeah,
asymmetric
in
in
space.
space.
In space, yeah. So now, can you imagine if you have all these elements and you are a little bit more conscious of making these choices, and stay for a moment a little bit away what we believe is right and wrong, a very at least interesting thing could happen. And you might have a tendency that you like geometric forms more. There's nothing wrong with it. But you also get more feeling for geometric forms if you explore the organic forms. That is the interesting part
Yes. And
in
still
ex-
it has a function, Sean, because
oh,
wh-
100%. Yeah,
yes, when we get born, everything around us is symmetric.
yeah.
And then we learn also to think like that.
In
And
our
if you
culture, yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
and if you go to a competition, they used, because I think in my um, world, in
Hmm.
my own world, I can only speak for myself, is dancing absolutely unnatural.
Yeah, it has, of course, but and that's why it becomes a lot of art is unnatural.
Yes, yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
a lot of art is unnatural, and to
Yes,
challenge that. Oh, today,
yes,
people, we talk about form and specifically what we can see and experience in our body. Ton and I could, and probably we will, is the use of music. You see, actually, the same things emerge. Is that we have a tendency to use the music more symmetrical, and
yes.
so we go from literally to the same point in the next measure if we can, which is symmetrical, right? And then we try of our partner to move on that same point too, which is symmetrical. uh,
Mm,
so you could use these, most of these things you can also use in the use of music, which makes an interesting discussion. If you combine these things, can I do symmetrical
yes.
movements on and use the music asymmetrical?
Yeah.
Then suddenly people are, what are you guys? Ton, are you sure? Are you completely out of your mind now? We don't but
Mhm.
but but
Yes.
challenge yourself a little bit on that thing.
Yes, they say it's not on in the music when you are asymmetric.
Asymmetrical.
Asymmetrical,
Yeah.
yes. And you are asymmetrical, you could be ignore the sounds and then do the opposite, or you when I say tick tick and I do with my head tick 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 tick, then I'm very symmetric.
Yeah.
My head and the ticking go the same. It's quite logical because we are born like that, to think like that, and to do it, our conscious. But the listening and the looking what we see and the brain from our conscious, we want to merge them together. And I can understand that. And mostly I do the same too. I put it on the sounds what I hear. I try to translate it in movement.
Yeah, definitely.
And yeah,
Yeah.
and there is no good and wrong in it. And the function of a judge when you do competition dancing is, they don't know it, but from the unconscious, they judge symmetry and geometry. And actually, all these dancers learn a trick. This is why I told it's unnatural, because you learn all these steps, and everything what you learn is in the first point not natural, because you learn a new skill. You're not born with that skill, you learn that skill. And in general, there are people, they are already dancing in the stomach. But it's a communication tool, and how more we communicate with that body and how more skills we learn, how more we can speak with that body.
Yeah.
It's like I learned the language English. I can practice a little bit more. German, Dutch, Russian, Chinese, Japanese. If I speak these languages or Spanish, because then I can speak with more people. And you can see that with the body too. If you learn more skills and you have more tools like symmetry, asymmetry, geometry, organic, single or composed, you can compose more elements with each other, and you can make more choices to bring a unique form as an artist to that floor. And in the competitive world, they are not used to that. They want that everybody looks in one way or the other way the same. Straight legs, turned feet, point feet. In the
Yeah.
ballet, the same. And they try to follow that path. But realize, we spoke a little bit, uh, maybe 20 minutes ago about it. It's an evolution, because the ballet dancer from 100 years ago is not so light anymore. Maybe at that time they did two turns in, say, in 2 seconds. Now they can do six turns in 2 seconds.
For sure.
That's yeah, that's it's evolution. It's growing and developing to another point, and you can see it more like the Olympics. It's Sitius, Altius, Fortius, stronger, higher, and what was the other one?
Faster.
Sit- Faster, yes. Thank you,
Yeah.
Sean. And this is where our world is going. And also, we are influenced by our uh, environment, because we see our social media, the news, the people around. We get influence and imitate forms, and we make something new from it. So, would that be everything function?
No, no, because
No,
need not in my opinion at least.
no, no,
But
no.
so yeah, so the other side is it's really good to understand the function. So we have these 10 body
Yes.
parts that Tom always talks about. Of course, you have more body parts, but we make it a little bit easier to talk about 10. And all these 10 body parts obviously have a function, right? They have a function to do something. It's really good to understand the function of a rotator and the function of a bender in your that's really good.
Yeah, very interesting, Sean. And the combination of that one,
Nice. Yeah.
it's the technique,
Yes,
actually.
exactly. So and then
Yes,
then you disappear automatically in form.
yes,
uh,
yes.
But
And
if you, yeah,
yes, and the body parts you keep on the place,
yeah,
and the bending and the rotating one,
yeah,
you coordinate actually three ones already. One, it's active on the place.
yeah,
One is rotating, and the other one is bending. So we have already three elements. And if you're conscious about it, be aware how you use them, then you have your own created your own technique from your inner body to the outside world. And if people look to you and you can define that in space, the form, because I call it form, you defined in space, and movement, you defined in time. Dynamic, you defined that in time. And if you can combine that, Sean, you get the unique form, exactly how you said it.
yeah. And so that's it. So they asked that question. We had a colleague who was very strong at no, it's always function and form, but also he, of course, give a deeper thought and thought, of course that is not true, and the other way around is also not true.
No, no, no.
So I have a tendency in dance, specifically when I choreograph, to let form, uh, be in the lead. There's nothing wrong if you want to do it differently. It's just what I choose to do. I have a thing in my head that I think that we can create that, and then I will find the functions that make that possible. Um, and so that's it. Form or function,
Yes.
is form leading or function leading. We'll come back
One,
definitely on it. Yes,
yes,
go
one
ahead.
point, Sean. One
Mm-hmm.
point. Actually, the technique is a function, I would normally say.
Yeah.
Or, yes, a
Yeah.
function. But the technique actually comes from the word techne.
Mm-hmm.
And techne, it's old Greek, I think, is it?
Yeah.
Greek, Latin? It's coming from the art. The art was first there,
It's
and
an
the
art.
technique
It's an
follow
art.
the
Yeah.
art.
Yeah.
And this makes it unique. And of course, both need each other to be more efficient.
Yeah. 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 That is definitely true. But also efficiency is, for you and me in creating of dance, definitely not always the first thing that I'm looking at.
No, 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 no,
Well,
absolutely not.
yeah, if it comes
We're
to
looking of
maybe
freedom,
we're looking
freedom
at
of
freedom and
mind.
choice of the dancers,
Yes.
and then of course there is a challenge to do that either in the context of whatever the competitive rules are. Of course, that's a challenge, but once in a while you just get yourself also free from all these things. You know, like remember when you talked about it, we talked about it. You put some music on, and can you dance what you feel? Get yourself, who there is no right and wrong. If you feel that you
No,
need to
no.
put your finger in your ear, that's what you feel. you know that's perfectly fine. It's liberating, but explores also your possibilities. Yeah.
You remember that one, Sean?
Oh, of course
On
I
the
remember.
form, straight lines and curved lines.
Yep. Yep.
If the audience could see that, and I put my finger there, maybe Sean can explain it.
Yeah,
That's
yeah. So we had this discussion when you know that when you put your index finger with your thumb together, you make a circle, right? We think we make a circle, but our bones don't make a circle. It's just a combination of straight lines, and since they're small bones in a certain order, they give us the illusion of a circle, which is incredibly interesting. That by itself is what we have, a lot of straight geometrical bones, right? But we want to create illusions of different forms. That is just intriguing for most people. If we would only do straight lines, I don't think actually you really like it. You think you like it, but I don't think you really like it to see it. But hey, that is me. We would like you to challenge you in exploring these form. Um, it's a little bit harder for pure English speakers to get the word form. I noticed that in my teaching. I teach in the United States. They say, "Oh, you mean shape?" I said, it's fine if you call it shape, but technically, for Europeans, because in most European language, the word form exists as a 3D form.
Yes,
Yeah,
3D, and it's in German, Russian,
Dutch, Danish,
Italian,
Swedish.
Polish, Swedish. It's everywhere the same. And Dutch and
Yeah,
France, it's
Italian. Yes.
forma figura.
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Interesting thing. Well, one
Mhm.
of our topics for today was is form following function or is function following form. We don't give you a definitive answer, but we would like you to explore what is your answer, and maybe there is no definitive answer. So we leave that up to you. With that, Ton, thank you for you sharing your knowledge. Of course, we had some history lesson in art when we went from Bauhaus to the style. The style. It's Dutch, and we explored many things in there, interesting things, and then we even touched on geometrical music. Who would have known that, right? That you can be symmetric and geometrical in music. you know. Anyhow, that was that Ton. I liked it a lot. Um, Although that's also subjective, of course.
Yes, absolutely, Sean. There is no golden standard for it, eh?
No, no. But I hope you guys, listeners, ladies, gentlemen, boy, girls, you dancers out there, non dancers, I hope you liked our podcast, this case, Dance Jams. Don't forget, you can listen to us on YouTube, you can listen to us on Apple, you can listen to us on Spotify. And of course, on our own website. Let me put them right here for a moment. The website is www or https. It depends on what you like to type. Gemdance slash podcast, and we have also Spotify Dance Gems, and then on YouTube it is at Ton Greten slash podcast. Yes, that's where we are, Ton. Anything
Very,
else?
very, no, very interest. Maybe I thinking about one subject. Maybe we
Mm-hmm.
can do this also. The difference between shape, form, design. That would be also to take in a small, to to look what the difference is, because there's a difference in it, and we didn't spoke about it.
No.
Uh, but maybe when we speak next time about maybe just only about form,
Yeah,
maybe
we
we
could.
would.
Yeah,
Yeah, we could.
we could definitely do that. Yeah, I think that fits in. A few episodes ago of our podcast, we said words and dancing, and it's okay if you have a general talk and you mix it a little bit up, design and form and stuff like that. That's perfectly fine. But if you want to teach and you want to learn, it actually helps you if you have very specific meanings with specific words because Ton and I always use this example, right? If I say to, hey, Ton, let's talk about a chair, then Ton could have this, very comfortable leather chair with, cup holders to watch television. And I have
Mhm.
maybe this very functional chair just to sit behind my desk. And we can talk for this about hours without thinking that we are talking about the same thing, but we don't, right?
Yes.
And therefore, it's kind of helpful if you have that, right? Not to know it better, but it's helpful to have specific meanings for specific words. Yeah.
Yes. Thank you very much, Sean. You did a great job.
You too. Dear people, we see each other hopefully for the next time with another episode of Dance Jams. Don't forget to follow us if you can. And don't forget, Ton and I are love to teach dance. So if you want to invite us for some workshops or some talks around a certain topic, then don't be shy and invite us for that. It's not only our pleasure, but it's actually our passion to do that. So with
Absolutely.
so we'll do that. Whether it's only ton, but who wants only ton? You get two
Yes,
if
yes,
you
yes,
want to.
yes. Get two for the price for one. For the
Well,
price for one.
we have to talk about that. All right,
Oh,
all
super,
right.
Sean.
I'll see you in the next episode, Ton. Who knows what we come up with? This was Dance Jams. I start the music. Maybe you want to say goodbye to the people.
Yes, thank you very much if you came till here for listening, and hope that we see or not we see that we hear us or
Yes.
you hear
Yeah.
us next
Yeah.
time.
Yeah. On YouTube, you can actually see us. Right?
Yes,
All
yes,
right,
yes.
you people. Thank you very much for listening. Once again, today we talked about does form follow function or does function follow form. This was, of course, Ton Greten and Sean Dorf with their podcast Spotify. No, with their podcast Dance Gems. All right. Bye. Bye, Ton. I'll
Thank
see you. I'll see you in the
See
next
you.
time.
Bye bye, Sean.
Bye bye.